This feels quite responsive. I'm a little bit impressed. Hey folks, welcome back. I hope you all had a great holidays and Happy New Year to you if New Year is your thing. I actually didn't do too much. It was great. So this time we're looking at an Orange Pi product, and I'm really torn, like, you know, Milk V and Pine 64, actually just mostly Milk V I love for their RISC-V stuff. But it's between Raxda Rock and, if that's how you say it, and Orange Pi for my Arm 64 stuff, and like, because they're both really good. But I really like these. And this time I got a kit from Amazon. This is a damn powerful, I guess, stick form factor SBC. It's not an eSBC, like it's not stamp size. It's not, it's not stick, it's not stamp size. It's more like a half credit card. It's almost a stick, but I'd say it's not an eSBC. It's still an SBC. This is the Orange Pi 02W. Now, we rip that open. I'm sure you know what this is essentially a copy of. This is their version of the Raspberry Pi. Where is my focus? Raspberry Pi 0. And it's a damn sexy board. You can see there that it is actually quite well made, and there's some features there that Raspberry Pi don't do. So we're going to have a look at this today and benchmark it and work out if this is worth replacing my Raspberry Pis with, my Raspberry Pi Zeros with, which just keep dying. I'm sick of replacing them. So this is a good alternative. Now, don't forget as well that I am still giving away, have I lost them all? No, there they are. I'm still giving away these rulers for free in my shop. So there is a shop URL on there for you. I'll put a link below, but these rulers are getting thrown in with every order until I run out. So if you need some eSBCs and components, accessories, Arduino stuff, sensors, cables, everything like that, go have a look at the shop, order some stuff, I'll throw these in. I've got more Milk V Duos in stock or on the way, depending on when this video comes out, and a few other things you might really enjoy. Now, I also have a second channel, which I mention occasionally. I'll put a link to that below. It's all cooking and kitchenware and stuff like that. So like how to make a really good steak in a cheap cast iron fry pan. I did an awesome egg fried rice the Australian way, and my most recent one was a homemade chili sauce with a 1-year ferment that really messed my day up. It was so hot, but go check that out if you're into that stuff. Otherwise, just like and subscribe here. Hit the little bell if you want to see more. And if you like this video, if you want more SBC stuff, don't forget to thumbs up this, because I kind of have a look at what's getting thumbs up and base it on that like most YouTubers do. Now, if we actually open the second box, this was a kit that I got, and it's about 50 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link to that below for you. This is a little FPC ribbon and an expansion board. So if you can see there, it adds Ethernet, USB, infrared, some buttons, and a 3.5mm jack for audio. Let's go a little bit closer here, see if my camera wants to focus. Believe it or not, I actually have a camera that doesn't have autofocus. It's black magic, it's bloody good, but doesn't autofocus, or doesn't do continuous focus. So that's the expansion board. Now, if we get back to having a look at this, it is, can I get, how tight can I go on that? Oh, that's all she wrote. It is an impressive little device for a number of reasons. If we compare it directly to the Raspberry Pi 20, this has dual band wireless AC as compared to just 2.4 GHz wireless N. It's got Bluetooth 5 as opposed to 4 point something. It's got more RAM, so this is the 2 gig version for that roughly $50 Australian delivered. The Raspberry Pi 02W only has 512 gig, and it's only got DDR2. This is DDR4, so a lot more capable, a lot faster already. It's got the same processor, being a quad-core Arm Cortex-A55 design. This also, of course, has USB-C, which you can see there, and it's got SPI flash, which is awesome. That is a 16 megabyte SPI flash, which from the factory has a micro Linux on it. So you can actually use this straight away. You don't even need an SD card, and I personally think that's really awesome. The last thing is this HDMI can do 4K, whereas the Raspberry Pi 20 only does 1080p from what I understand. The external antennas are a nice touch too. So the first thing that we'll want to answer is yes, it can run Clipper. According to the documentation, it's Clipper compatible. You'll keep asking that, so I thought I'd answer up front. Now, there is also the 03, the Orange Pi I've released now. Different form factor, closer to credit card size, or like almost credit card size. It's rectangular, but I haven't bothered ordering it because most of my customizations are designed for these exact mounts. That's why I've got, you know, these and then the standard credit card form factor. But maybe one day I'll get one, or if you want to see that, if enough people like the Orange Pi videos, I'll do more Orange Pi stuff. It's up to you guys. Like the stuff you want to see, as always. So, rest of the standard specs are the H618, which we talked about. You will want to slap a little heatsink on that, so I've got one here for the sake of the benchmark. RAM, SD card slot, USB-C host and on the go. That's USB 2, flash HDMI, standard Pi 2 headers. It's rated for 5 volts, 2 amps, so 10 watt, pretty stock standard. It's got the little 24-pin ribbon connector there. It's got its Wi-Fi chip there, which is separate, and as I mentioned, a bit higher spec. It can run Android TV, Debian, Ubuntu, or the Orange Pi OS, which is based on Arch Linux. My go-to is Debian, as always. Now, Orange Pi are an Armbian Platinum sponsor, but this model's not. They really don't have much H618 stuff. They've got more H616 stuff. So I'm using the Orange Pi version here. Now, if you go through their documentation, you go to download the image, and it comes up saying over their quota, make sure you just signed into any Google account, and then it downloads using your quota or something like that. So it can be a pain, but it does work. They also have both 5.4 and Linux 6.1 kernels available. In my example, they've got Debian Bookworm and Debian Buster in 5.4 and 6.1, I believe it was. Might have been 5.4 on Bullseye, sorry, and 6.1 on Bookworm, I can't remember, but they do have an XFCE version and a server or headless CLI version there. So, quite good, and it is that great form factor. Now, I also have to thank PCBWay, and I almost forgot at the start. I didn't quite forget, I just didn't expect the intro to go so long. They are sponsoring this video. They sponsor a lot of my stuff because I work with them a lot. They actually make a lot of really good products. Like one of my more recent videos, if I haven't already lost it, is these sorts of things. So I had this designed, I designed it, but I had this made by PCBWay, and this is a new LED board that I'm working on that, as you can see, has a lot of options for different MCUs. I'm just powering it externally for now with one of my ESP32C3 risers, but PCBWay are great for that sort of stuff. Now, if you wanted to make something like one of these, either of these yourself, you'll want to engage them. I use them for those designs like I showed you, but they can help with their own, they can help you with designs yourself. So if you're new to it, they do have a KiCad plugin, and they've got a lot of information on PCB design. They also have professional engineers that can help with any consultation. On top of that, they have some really good prototyping deals. So you can order 10 boards up to 100mm by 100mm, so roughly that size. 10 boards, 2 layers for only $5. I've put a link below for you. They're just great to work with. I've worked with them heaps in the last year. I've worked with some others too, but I keep going back to PCBWay, and I've turned away other sponsors now because they'll do large-scale production runs if need be. You can make something like this. This could have even been made there. You can design something, get their assistance with it if need be, prototype it for only $5, test it out yourself, and then when you're ready to go into manufacturing, say you want to start doing this, they do exactly this stuff. They'll do large-scale production runs, part sourcing and PCB assembly. They can do 3D printed product cases, CNC milled if you've got like heavy mounts or something. They'll even do OEM and retail packaging. So I use them. I think you should too if you're into anything PCBs. They've been a great supporter of this channel. Thank you to all of their excellent team. Thank you to you guys for supporting this too, but check them out. Honestly, link below. It helps me out, helps them out, helps you out. Everyone wins. Now, the only other issue in the images that I saw when we were looking at this, and this doesn't have PoE by the way, I checked, is that there is no GPU and VPU support yet. And that's a little bit sad because it's been out for nearly 2 years now, or a year and a half, I think. None of the releases, even like the Rasp OS release, which is third party, doesn't have GPU support. So that's a real shame, but it is what it is. They do have a 331-page manual though, so well done on the documentation. And their English in all of their doc-on websites is reasonably good too. So the only difficulty I've seen from looking through the documentation before this, because I did plan it out a little bit, is if you want to put Android on here, you need to use a tool called Phoenix Card to flash the SD. You can't just use Win32 Disk Imager or Balena as I did. So that's in the documentation on page 31, I think it was. if you want to get Android TV running and use this like a tiny set-top box sort of thing. What we're going to do though is Debian Bookworm 6.1 kernel with XFCE and see what it does. So first thing first is we'll want to test the power consumption, then we'll see what the micro Linux is like, then we'll slap an SD card in there and see how it boots. We'll see what HDMI is like, test out playing some videos, browsing the internet if it's capable of doing that, look at the temperature, look at the specs, run Geekbench and sign off, because we've all got better things to be doing, and this is already 10 minutes long. So I'm going to plug some power into this now. I'm just going to use one of these cheapy cables. I will actually grab my power tester, which is in the car, and then we'll boot it up and see how it goes. Hold please. Alrighty, we've got this plugged into a quick charge 3 port, which is my little Pine Power. Link to that in the description if I remember. Now there's 2 ports, one of them will probably power it. Let's see, I didn't even check the doco, but it looks like that one. Straight away, 141 milliamp and got a little red light on. That's looking really good. Drop down to 147. Stuff all really. Like, it really is. It's 0.762 watts. So it's not doing too much, and this is presumably going to be running micro Linux. So let's plug in this micro HDMI cable. Let's grab an adapter out. Jeez, thought I didn't have one then. So we'll plug in this mini, micro, whatever it is, HDMI adapter. We'll plug that into the computer that's going to the capture card, into OBS, and then we'll plug the power back in and actually see what it does. Little green lights flashing, and there we go. We have a terminal, and we can see it does check for any storage, and then just give you pretty much nothing. Let's connect the keyboard and mouse and try again. So if we just grab this little ribbon cable, make sure you can see what I'm doing. Oh, that is stiff. There we go. Plug that in there, and then it's designed to go in here. Comes with all these little screws too, so you can actually mount them, which is super nifty. Oh, so. God, I'm not good at this. Is that the right way around? Yeah, that's right. All right. Too shaky, too early in the morning. There we go. All right, that's in, and then I'll plug my little wireless keyboard and mouse receiver in. We'll boot it back up and see what it's doing. There we go, so we can see that connection is right, that's good. And it's drawing a tiny bit more power, as you'd expect. There's going to be slight overhead on this, although very minimal. There we go, we are back at a basic Linux. So we're running 4.9 in this embedded Linux. We can see we've got 2 gig of RAM there. We're using 44, which is actually pretty heavy for such a tiny Linux. We've seen some other eSBCs using, 12. So top here, what do we got going on? Is really Ash is chewing a lot. We've got no file system mounted on /dev. So this is, very, very tiny. We've got the most basic tools really, but it gets you going. Does it show? No. So there appears to be no networking. This is the absolute minimum just to show that it works, as their documentation says. And if you want to do more, you've got to flash it with an image. So let's do that. Oh, geez, pull that out. Got a 64 gig SD card that I've just put that image on, and we'll boot it straight back up. Get this out the way, and let's even put this heatsink on. Well, nice little splash. Wow, that looks like a Windows boot screen, doesn't it? That's that tick is going a little bit fast, but that is very reminiscent of Windows. Wonder how long this is going to take to boot. So there you go, little H618. There's a heatsink for you. We can see it's already consuming a bit more power too. So 1.1 to 1.3 watts here. And it's taking a while to boot, as you'd expect, but we'll let it do its thing and see what the desktop environment's like when it's done. Now, the first two boots can be different speeds. The first one might be doing some device setup and whatnot, so we'll boot it twice, but if I remember, I'm going to put a time counter on the boot so we can see how long it actually takes, and then we'll reboot and we'll time the second one too, just in case it's any different. It's loading up the GUI, as you can see, and it's drawing a bit more current. It's drawing nearly half an amp now, so it's still nowhere near that 2 amps it's rated for, but it is drawing between 2 and 3 watts. Alright, auto login is set up. If auto login isn't enabled, the default username and password is orangepi, all lowercase, no spaces. So that booted pretty nicely. Bluetooth's working, Ethernet's working. Let's join Pi-Fi. Whoop. If I can remember the password for that one. Yep, excellent. This feels quite responsive. I'm a little bit impressed. There is, yeah, no lag. The current consumption is pretty good. This is a Chromium browser, so essentially core version of Chrome is Chromium that's used in so many other products, like I think even Opera GX now. So it's running Chromium. That launched reasonably fast. So let's go to youtube.com. This is actually feeling a lot faster than a lot of other SBCs, especially these smaller sized SBCs that we've looked at before. In one of my previous videos, I think it might have been the Mars, which is RISC-V. So yes, it's a completely different instruction set, like different architecture, different ISA. But this is smaller and faster, so I have to give it some credit. That's by no means because of the Milk V Mars or anything like that, though. Things just aren't optimized for RISC-V yet like they are, or RISC-V yet like they are for ARM. So let's go find my video, be one of my best subscribers as always. This is responsive. This is actually stupid good. I did not expect it to work like this. Let's see if it can do the FPS though, because this is always what gets us. Full screen and then it just starts eating frames like there's no tomorrow. That is looking perfectly fine. Can we push it up to 1080? Goodbye frames. Let's see. Not bad, not ideal, and half of this is even just the buffering. Like if we pause it for it to actually let it buffer, half of it appears to be just the internet here. My internet's pretty average at the moment. There's a bit of tearing going on. That is most likely going to be due to the software rendering, but that did way better than most other things. As soon as there's GPU drivers, this is going to fly. That was excellent. I'm thoroughly impressed with that. So what else have we got? Let's jump over to a console. We've got a nice little splash there. We can see a bit of what's going on. Let's have a real look. Load's pretty high. Audio was pretty heavy, as we can expect, but load is coming down now that I'm not running that. With the UI, we're only using ½ a gig of RAM. That's very reasonable. There is swap space enabled by default. Just be aware if you're using that swap space, it will kill your SD card. you want a really good SD card, or just be aware that it will be fried by the extreme, read-write random that it's getting. There is our 6.1 that makes me so happy. That's what we always want to see. I mean, 5.4 is good too. 6.1 is even better. It's a newer major build of the Linux kernel. It's got a lot more support for different hardware. It's more power efficient, better support for even RISC-V and things like that as well. Great support for ARM as always, but it's also that LTS release. So very, very glad about that. What else we got? We're going to have a look at, as always, cat proc CPU info. Should be that quad-core RV64, sorry, not RV64, ARM64. That's exactly what we've got there. That's all looking happy. So let's bust out the top done, and we'll have a look at how warm this thing's gotten. And then we'll finish off with a bit of a benchmark, because I noticed that Jeff Geerling, whatever his name is, doesn't actually have this one in his benchmarks. So we'll grab that data from Geekbench 6 and add it to the community. There we go. Come on. Come on. The autofocus thing. There we go. Alright, the board is sitting at about 55 degrees. The IO board is nice and cool. So I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that there. Oh, geez, that's bright. Yep. So the board's sitting at about 55 degrees. Not bad at all. And back of it is at about 51. So yeah, that heatsink's definitely going to be necessary given how much heat that thing puts out, but not bad in the slightest. Now I guess we'll reboot it. We'll now that's kind of broken in. One thing I actually forgot to check, has it expanded to take up the SD card? Yes. So like I said, like a lot of them haven't been doing, this now shows all 64 gig available as the root mount point, and that means it will probably be a fair bit faster on the next reboot. So let's have a look at that. Init 6, sudo init 6, Orange Pi, rebooting. There she goes. Quick as hell as far as the shutdown goes. Alright, we'll time this one. Yeah, that was a hell of a lot quicker. What's that been, 20 seconds now roughly off the top of my head. So the first boot, doing the partition expansion, everything like that, setting up hardware if it has to, like these, they can auto-generate a device tree in some circumstances. I'm not sure which ones do, but I was reading about it the other day. It's pretty neat. Saves a lot of time against minor hardware changes, having to do new releases. That was excellent. I am very happy with this. So the last thing we're going to do is at Geekbench 6. I'm going to plug in this USB drive. It's formatted FAT32, and I've got the ARM64 version of Geekbench on it. We'll see if this auto mounts, and yep. I called it fake because there's a fake SanDisk product that I got from eBay for a few bucks. It says it's half a terabyte. It's not. You're probably lucky to get a few gig out of it. It's not mounted. Can I mount it? Yep. Sweet. All right. So back here, sudo su. Do you have sudo installed? You do. I just did that. I know that. Do you have screen installed? It does have screen. Do you have ifconfig installed? It does. All right, so this is a really good distribution. I'm really happy with this image coming. Oh, do you have Vim or just Vi? Vim. This is a good image. This image comes with all the things that I normally add to images, mainly ifconfig or the NetTools package, Vim, screen, sudo. So well done. If we have a look at the load now, sitting nice and low as we'd expect, and if we jump back, we can see it did remember our Wi-Fi details. So all excellent. Well done to Orange Pi for A, supporting the Armbian Foundation, B, creating products that actually match the size of competitors' products, but far exceed them. 3, C, something. Writing good comprehensive documentation, 300 plus pages in good English, including every bit of the specification, how to do everything. Releasing all of the software, all of the SDK, all the dev tools, all excellent. And the last thing, creating a really good image, creating multiple images. So you've got Ubuntu and Debian and Arch Linux and Android TV. You've got 5.4 kernels, you've got 6.1 kernels, you've got CLI builds, you've got desktop builds. That is a huge amount of effort and is really good. That's why I like these guys. And the Raxda Rock stuff is really similar, but this is for sure going to be my new controller for the garden at least. But we do need to benchmark it now. So if we just have a look at where that is mounted and go media, Orange Pi, fake, Geekbench, actually system D, was it that? No, all right, I can't remember. There's something where you can actually check all the boot stuff, but I honestly don't care enough. What we're gonna do here is all plus X, Geekbench, whoop, and then, FAT32 doesn't support the permission bit that we need to actually make it executable. So I'll quickly copy that to my home directory and then we'll run it from there. Just to prevent any issues with the speed or dickiness of this USB drive or that USB 2 connection being an issue, but also for that permission. So now, there we go. Now it's executable and we can run it. We're gonna leave this running. We can see there it's reported pretty much most of the right details, except it's one processor, 4 cores, 4 threads. That's just something that these preview releases do. So I will put the results of this down below, and in the description I might even just include the video of this thing running. You might even get some music, who knows, it depends how I feel when I'm editing, and that really depends on how many beers I've had. No, not always. You good, truck? Anyway, thank you again to PCBWay for sponsoring this. Thanks for all the Christmas gear they sent me. It was awesome, including, I don't have it all here, but stuff like this awesome mouse mat key and elbow rest. They do some really good stuff. I'm using them for all of my products. I use them for the rulers that you can get from my shop if you want to order any SBCs or eSBCs. Have a look at that below. Thanks to you guys for supporting this. This channel is still growing. I'm still getting dozens of comments every week, and I'm really enjoying working with you. Don't forget, if you're still around at this half-an-hour mark, I do have a subreddit now. So on r/Platima, reddit.com/r/Platima, I'm putting a discussion thread for each of these videos, but also some things like the humane smart animal trap that I'm making, the ESP riser board, the 8x8 LED board. All of these things have discussion threads because all my stuff's open source. All my stuff's designed around engaging the community, making stuff that I want to use, that you want to use too. So thanks again. Stay safe. Make sure you're enjoying the start of 2024 and your holiday season if it's still going. Otherwise, leave comments, like, subscribe, all those fun things. I'll continue making more SBC videos. There will be some others in between though. Till next time, take it easy. Alright, this is future me here, and I'm just doing the final edit and uploading, and I thought it worth pointing out that unfortunately, it did fail to complete Geekbench because it ran out of memory. It got reached by the OM out of memory manager. What I had to do is stop LightDM. It also turned out it had container D running, so I stopped that too, and then I stopped Bluetooth, some Braille service I found, cups, and also. And that freed up a whole pile of RAM, ran it again, and it completed successfully. This bit now is playing back at 3,000 times speed. But once it did complete successfully anyway, I uploaded it. So the results are below, and it actually did really well. It did better than I expected, and it did better than a quad-core A55 that I've seen. And that could just be because of the heatsink on it. However, I did negate to mention one downside of this. As much as I love the product, it really needs an eMMC port on it. I think adding eMMC would be a huge win for this. It's a shame it's only got SD. NVMe, of course, would be way better. I think you could fit a 2230 or 2240 on the back. But yeah, that's the one downside. So the image had a little bit of bloat, had all the things I love, but a little bit of bloat, and it had no other storage options besides, I mean, possibly NetBoot too, but that's going to smash your RAM. So till next time, there's that bit of information. Comment all the things below. Ask me questions. I'll see you later.